Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa Alhamdulillah. I live another day to do the sharing of this particular law. We are discussing Environmental Quality Clean Air Regulations 2014 as one of the subsidiary regulations of the Environmental Quality Act 1974. So we are somewhere in the middle of the Clean Air Regulation right now. We are discussing a very important topic for all the environmental practitioners, especially those in the oil and gas industry, because right now we are discussing this part E. All right, we are discussing part E of the third schedule, whereby we will look into the parameters, environmental parameters of concern, which is stipulated in this regulation for us to really understand and apprehend. And there are certain things which the law has mentioned, which for me apparently is not that legal, and I believe that would require your further discussions with the authorities. All right, now let us go into the next slide. Okay, for those of you, for all of you who have subscribed to my channel, I am honored with your presence. I thank you so much. And I believe all these materials that I have displayed before you would give you a benefit in your work. You could be an environmental auditor, you could be my fellow environmental consultants and trainers, or you could be a competent person, especially working for the various industries. And here today, perhaps you're a competent person in the oil and gas industry. Thank you for your subscription. I'm getting old and I'm passing the baton to all of you, and I don't think I'll be doing training much any longer. And but I have to go on, and I have to go on in this manner. I will put my heart and soul into this knowledge that I acquire from other people who taught me, who trained me, who were my colleagues and associates, and the bulk of the law understanding was when I was working for the Department of Environment. Okay, and I was trained in various aspects of environmental management, legal, even prosecution, and environmental sciences. So consider this as a payback to the community, and I hope this would also be viewed by the DOE as an additional or auxiliary knowledge to improve further. I believe you are well trained, but improve further into a higher level. And let us continue with this. Now, I am showing you this slide again because some of you may have just clicked into this video without watching earlier videos, and I have to show you this because this is part of the video which was entitled the Google Map. If you look at my list of video, there's one video on the clean air regulation, the Google Map. Okay, and that is where you find this slide. I explain it. Now, in briefly for this time around, let me recap a little bit briefly. This law has got some form of double standard, meaning there are certain industries which is stipulated which is listed in the first schedule, and others which are not. Okay. Right now, our concern is those industries which are listed in the first schedule, and based on this law, Regulation 13 did mention in the first paragraph that all industries from the first schedule, their air emissions shall conform to standards listed in the third schedule. All right, we're not going to talk about fuel burning equipment as yet, but just for understanding's sake, if you have got here a factory other than power generation plants, and those are called genset as well, a factory with some form of burner which is using solid fuel more than 30 kilogram per hour, more than 15, these are considered big fuel burning equipment. So their standard of emission is definitely second schedule. However, if in these first schedule industries you find fuel burning equipment which are smaller, meaning burning solid fuel less than 30 kilogram per hour, or burning liquid or gas fuel less than 15 kilogram per hour, they still have got to comply to the second schedule because they are residing in industries of the first schedule. All right, that's how it works. Now let's get into the next slide. Now this is where our friend is, which is actually under the law, is not numeric 1, 2, 3, but instead A, B, C, D, and E. We are now here. We are going to discuss this. Oil and gas industries, all sizes, including storage and handling of petroleum products. We are now getting into this. Can we proceed to the next slide and discuss it further? Now, this is the law. The law stipulates 3 plants in oil refinery, which is the claus plant, catalytic cracking plants, and the calcination plants. Okay, and from these plants there are only 3 parameters, which is sulfur not in terms of weight, but look, what is this? Percentage recovery of sulfur. Okay, and total particulate matter, this is common to all, and also sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide here refers also to some of sulfur trioxide and sulfur dioxide expressed in sulfur dioxide. Okay, good. That detail you got to ask the chemist. I'm not. Now, as far as claus plant is concerned, claus plant, I am not a petroleum engineer. I've never worked in an oil refinery. I was trained by them when we do our first audit way back in '96. That audit is an introduction audit when we were doing ISO 14001, and they invited me to train them, and I have to bring in auditors. It was Serim those days. We trained Serim auditors, and they brought me to oil refinery, and that's how I briefed them about the law, and at the same time I learned about oil refinery. As I could remember, I may be wrong, claus plant here is about converting what is from this coming out from the catalytic cracking, which is, I believe you know this, hydrogen sulfide. All right, hydrogen sulfide is coming out from the cracker. We call it cracker, catalytic cracker, and it is transferred into what is called claus plant. All right, this is being transferred to claus plant, and in the claus plant, it is some form of combustion, if not mistaken, an excess of sulfur. The first reaction, you get sulfur dioxide, and further addition of hydrogen sulfide, you get sulfur. So sulfur is recovered here. So the product of claus plant is actually another industry, which is the manufacturing or production of sulfur. The same sulfur that we use to make sulfuric acid and others, including fertilizer, etc., including, well, so many others, all right, including, I think, gunpowder. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. Now, so that claus plant produces sulfur. The higher the recovery of sulfur, the better it is for the environment, and also the better it is for the business because you got more sulfur. So the law says they must recover more than 95% of sulfur from the claus plants. It simply means higher recovery process. If they have got an efficient recovery technique or technologies, then that should be documented as BT. Okay, for example, if let's say now our local industry, Petronas refinery, found that they have got something that they could do in the claus plant to improve the sulfur recovery, my suggestion to you is that you better get it documented. Whatever smallest thing that you do, you better get it documented as a procedure and call it best available technique, economically achievable. So if you are a consultant to a refinery and you listen to this video, tell them about this. You don't have to mention me. All right. I don't need to be popular. I just want to be a quiet old man, able to swim in the morning, able to ride my ninja once in a while, and eat some edible food. Okay, so consultants, auditors, and even competent person, this is where Betty kicks in. Smallest, even if you literally is just adjusting that air fuel ratio, or you are bringing side to side the point of stoichiometry for that sulfur recovery. There is a balance equation for that. You know the setting better than I do, better than anybody else. All right, that small improvement is BT under this law. Get it documented and pass it to DOE. And as part of your BT, you have conformed to what is called, remember the earlier regulation, that we need to have best available technique, economically achievable. This is where you get it from. All right. And for the claus plant, total particulate matter is not regulated. Sulfur dioxide is not regulated. All right. Let me double check with the law book. Yeah. And yeah, only sulfur is regulated. Now, there is another process here, the catalytic cracking, fluidized bed cracker, catalytic cracking. All right. For this particular process, sulfur recovery is not applicable, but look, total particulate matter has got to be less than 40 milligram, my friend, per cubic meter. It's not much. 40 milligram per cubic meter. And sulfur dioxide has got to be less than 1,200 milligram per cubic meter. Sum of sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide expressed as sulfur dioxide. That's what the law says. Got it? The cracking is where you get all this acrylate, you get all this diesel, you get petrol, you get kerosene, etc. Right up to bitumen. All right, so that is the catalytic cracking. I may be wrong, correct me. I beg your pardon. I am not a petroleum engineer. I learn from them. I may have learned or heard the wrong thing. If I go wrong in my explanation about the process, forgive me. But I am just sharing with you what the law says, all right? I'm not an expert in that process. Now, let's get into calcination. Correct me if I'm wrong again, but calcination, from my observation, if I remember well, those days, I'm talking about 1998, 99, I saw calcination, the product of calcination is something which is common to us, we know it. Do you remember electrode? Like I saw this electrode when I was visiting one friend who has got a furnace. They've got that anode electrode and cathode electrode. You know that anode electrode that is black in color. It's like, you know, it's like a microphone sort of texture, but it's very hard. Furnace electrode, we call it electrode, correct? That electrode is similar to what is being produced from calcination. I remember those days we call it pet coke, petroleum coke. I may be wrong, correct me. But it's not about the process that concern us today, but it's about the law has stipulated from calcination. Look, total particulate matter must be less than 40 milligram per cubic meter. So that's about it for the oil and gas industries, refineries of all sizes, natural gas processing and storage and handling of petroleum product. Now you tell me, apart from claus plants, catalytic cracking, calcination, what else do you think, as far as environmental parameters is concerned, is coming out from natural gas processing, also refineries, and storage and handling of petroleum products? Do you hear that? That was a Ducati Panigale. I can't sleep because I love the bike. Can't afford it. Sorry, back to what we were discussing. What do you think is missing? Anyone? What is missing? Don't you think there is volatile organic carbon along the way? Volatile organic carbon, benzene, phenol, right? Where are they? Why are they not regulated here? We're talking about storage and handling. Storage. We're talking about natural gas processing and storage. You got spear tanks, pressure vessels, right? And there are some LEVs. That is a Panigale V4 Corsa. Wonderful sound, isn't it? But never mind. Let's get back to this. I'm sorry. What happened to that? Do you realize that for all these tanks, or gas tanks, the high pressure storage tank for gas, there is some form of relief valve that purges when the pressure vessel gets to a certain pressure. The valve will be activated and some gas is coming out. It could be the product. Wouldn't that be a concern? And well, let's go to the tank farm. You have got bulk storage tank, huge, the same thing. You've got pipes, flanges. Don't you think there's any kind of accidental releases from the connectors, from the LEVs, they call it, or from the relief valves? All right, the purging. What do you think? Volatile organic carbon is missing, isn't it? Amine, pyridine, benzene, toluene, name it. You know, it's the volatile organic carbon is missing. I believe this is the luxury given to industries listed here because those items has been controlled somewhere. Now, let's take a look at the law. You want me to read for you? Under the law, I want to show this to you. Okay, you see this part? This is not the law. This is a note in the law. Look at that. You see that? Here, it is called notes. Sorry. Here, underneath, just below the table. Let me read for you. Notes. A law has notes, and that note, I'm not sure to what extent would it be legal binding. Let's assume the note consists of something that we have got to comply. If we don't comply, would we be charged under, let's say, Regulation 13, third schedule, Part E, Note number 1? Would that happen? Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never gone into those what I call situation yet. Please enlighten me if you have some experience. Now, according to this, what I could see here is note number 1. Gases and vapors of organic substances which escape from the pressure relief fittings and blow down system shall be fed into a gas collecting system. Do you hear that? Number 2, the collected gases shall be combusted in process furnaces if this is feasible. If this is not feasible, the gases shall be fed into a flare. Take note, yeah? Auditors, consultants. Waste gases continually produced by processing systems and waste gases occurring during the regeneration of catalyst inspections and cleaning operations shall be fed into a post-combustion facility, or equivalent measures to reduce emissions shall be applied. This, I believe, is BT. Wow. Take note if you're HSE managers, you have your process designers. Gaseous and volatile organic compounds shall be indicated as total organic carbon. Indicated as total organic carbon, but the parameter is not regulated in this particular regulation. I can't expect the oil and gas industry needs to refer to fifth schedule. It's not fair, because Regulation 13 stipulated that emissions coming from from activities in the first schedule shall comply to what is stipulated in the third schedule only. Or is there some exemption due to the phrase as the case may be? So maybe in this case, volatile organic carbons, where should we refer to? Fifth schedule? This is something else. But even fifth schedule has some processes there. All right, now number 5. Fugitive emissions of volatile organic substances shall be minimized according to the respective best available techniques economically achievable. Guidance document. There you are. There is a guidance document. It's a guidance document by the DOE. Get it. All right. Number 6, for compliance check, a leakage detection and repair program shall be implemented as outlined in the guidance document on leak detection and repair in a manner as specified and approved by the Director General. Number 7, combustion installations using refinery gas or other byproducts shall comply with the standards of fuel burning equipment in the second schedule or third schedule, depending on the thermal output. Thermal output. Which thermal output? Now, when the note says that depending on the thermal output, I believe I leave this to the process engineer, the process manager. I believe you understand the thermal output, okay? Because the note in the law says depending on the thermal output. So depending on which output to which output. There has got to be some grid line there. All right. Well, that's the note in the law that I find myself least comfortable with that particular note. I believe the authority has prepared to give you some guidance on that, but as far as regulation 13 is concerned, and for the oil and gas industry, this is what you have. And there are other areas where we would put it as based on what the law mentioned as the case may be, and this is rather subjective at the moment. Well, this is the best I could explain to you for this particular part, the oil and gas industry. All right, so I thank you for your attention. I'm sorry if there's insufficient knowledge that you want from this particular video. Saya minta maaf dengan segala kekurangan yang ada. Itu adalah kekurangan saya. And if you know, please you can use this video reproduce under your name or under your supervision or under your label, whatever it is. Because for me, getting this knowledge across to people who can use it is more important than anything else for us to continue to get into the future, which is rather tough right now. Okay. So, thank you for the time. Thank you for your attention. Please do not hesitate to subscribe. Be kind enough to do so. So, until we meet again in the next video, have a good day. As a Muslim, I wish everybody Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.